All right, guys, so now that our dashboard is done and we're able to basically add everything to our profile that we want to start to work on the profile display. And we're going to start with this link here, developers. I want it to be a list of the profiles. Okay, now one thing that I noticed when I was trying to create a profile is that the Instagram was not showing up after editing it. And that's because if you go to editprofile.js and you go to where we set the component field state, I forgot Instagram. Okay, so just make sure that you add that here. So we want to put a comma, and chances are you probably, if you manually put these in, you added it, but if you didn't, just make sure you do. You may have noticed that early on. So let's save that. All right, now what I'm going to do is create a profile for the Brad user, because right now only John Doe has a profile. All right, the Brad user, I'm going to add like every field I possibly can just to make sure everything works. So let's log in. All right, so say create profile, and I'm just going to say Brad Traversy for my handle. We'll say instructor or teacher at Traversy Media. Website. Location. Skills. Okay, let's put in, I'm going to put in my GitHub username. If I can spell my own name. And then a short bio, I'll just say I have been programming for around 10 years. Now I teach it online. I don't know, it doesn't matter. So add social networks. Let's go ahead and put these in. Just going to copy the Traversy Media. Okay, LinkedIn. These are my actual profiles. Feel free to follow me. All right, so let's submit. Not a valid URL. I forgot the .com. So we know validation's working. All right, so now if I go to edit profile, okay, everything's there. Not a valid URL. So the error stayed in the state. If I reload that, that should go away. Okay. All right, so now we have a full profile, everything that I can possibly add. Now what I'm going to do is add an experience. I'm going to put tech guy, web solutions, job title, I'll say senior developer, location, date, let's say 2000, it's like 2010. I don't remember, I'm just guessing here. To, let's say, 2015. Senior dev, worked with UI and backend, JS, PHP, etc. I don't know. Submit. All right, so I'm going to add another experience of my current company. Let's say instructor and then here let's say 20, we'll do 2016, and then I'm going to say this is my current. All right, so online teaching of web development. All right, so let's add education. Say Northern Essex Associates date, let's say 2008 to 2010, and submit, and there we go. All right, so now we have a full profile to work with. John Doe has a half-assed profile. I want to test both, okay, because I want to see, we want to make sure that we can cover for people that don't have certain things filled in. We don't want it to be null or something like that, or not display right. So my suggestion would be to create one really in-depth profile like this, and then create one that doesn't have all the fields filled in, maybe just the default fields. So now what we'll do is go to our VS Code, and I'm going to create a new folder in components called profiles. And this is going to represent the list of profiles. We'll also have a component folder called profile, which will be the individual. But in here, I'm going to create a new file called profiles again, capital P. And then we're also going to have, each one is going to be its own component in the list. So that's going to be the profile item.js. Okay, so let's open up profiles, and let's create a class-based component. Okay, we're actually going to bring in connect. I know you're getting sick of typing this stuff out, but it's just something that comes with the territory. So prop types from prop types, and let's see. Let's bring in our spinner, because we're going to need that. So that's going to be in common slash, God, why do I keep opening that? Slash spinner. All right, now we're going to want to fetch our profiles, obviously. So we're going to bring in an action for that. We're going to say import get profiles from // actions / profile actions. Okay, so let's go down here and let's export default connect. And in here, let's say null for now, and then we need our get profiles here. We'll create our let's see, we're gonna get back, we need our profile state, so let's do const map state to props. So we want profile state. Okay, let's add our prop types. So what is this called? Profiles dot prop types, and let's throw in our get profiles function. Func and profile. All right. So now what we want to do is let's first of all pass in here map state to props, and we want to call getProfiles as soon as the component is mounted. So let's say component did mount, and then we're going to call this.props.getProfiles, okay, which doesn't exist just yet. And then down in the render, we're going to want to, let's first of all create some variables here from the profile property, which came from the Redux state. We want to take out profiles and loading. Okay, we want to take that out using destructuring from this.props.profile. All right, then I'm going to initialize profile items, and we want to test to see if profiles is equal to null or loading is true. If that's true, then profile items, we want the spinner to display. Okay, if that's true, else, okay, so if it's not null, if it's not loading, then we want to check to see if there are any profiles. So we can say if profiles, which is an array, dot length is greater than 0, then we want to keep going. Else, then we want to just display a message. We'll say profile items equals an h4, and we'll just say no profiles found. Okay, and then here, if profiles are actually found, for now I'm just going to put I'll just put an h1, and I'll just say profiles here, because this is where our items, our profile item components will go. Okay, so let's see, we're going to now go down to the actual return, and we're going to add basically our Chrome, our surrounding markup. So let's say return div, we'll give this a class name of profiles. We want a container, we want a row, we want a full column, call md12. Let's put a heading, so h1 class display for text center, and we'll say developer profiles, and then we'll put a paragraph with the class of lead and text center, and we'll just say browse and connect with developers. All right, and then under that paragraph, we're going to put that profile items value. All right, so we'll save that. So right now, if we go to our application, actually, you know what we want to do is create a route for the profiles component. So let's go to app.js, and let's bring in profiles. Profiles. All right, now profiles is not going to be, it's not going to be a protected route. I want anybody to be able to go to profiles, so we're not going to use switch and private route. I'm just going to grab one of these routes, and we'll put it right here. So profiles, if I can spell, and then that's going to load the profiles component. All right, so if we were to now look at any page, it's going to give us an error because getProfiles is not yet in the profile actions file, and we called that right here. Okay, so let's create that. So let's go in actions, profile actions, And let's go, let's see, we'll go right under delete education. Yeah, it doesn't really matter where we put it. Let's say get all profiles. Okay, so I'm gonna copy, I'll just copy this. I mean, all the Axios requests are pretty much the same. Let's see, so this is going to be called get profiles, and it's not going to take any parameters. And then let's see, we want to dispatch the profile loading. So just like we did up above when we got the current profile, remember how we dispatched set profile loading? We want to do that. So we're going to put that, but before we put the Axios request. All right, and then Axios is going to be a get request to API/profile/all. These can be quotes. We don't need backticks here. Okay, and then if everything goes okay, we're going to call the type getProfiles, okay, plural, and then pass the data, which will be an array of profiles. Down here, if it doesn't go right, we want to call getErrors, but we want the payload to be we want to call getProfiles, not getErrors, because we do want to call this, except we want the payload to be null. We want to keep the profiles state as null in the reducer. All right, so let's save that. Do we bring in getProfiles? No, we didn't, so let's make sure we bring that in. getProfiles. All right, and let's check out the profile reducer. Okay, so now we need to bring in getProfiles here as well. And then we need to add a case for it. So we'll go right here and say case get profiles. Okay, and we want to return, we want to return the current state, but we want profiles to be filled with the payload, which is an action.payload, and we also want to set loading to false, okay, because it's going to be set to true right before we make the request. Once we get the response, we want it to be false. So let's save that. All right, so if we go back, that error is gone. If we go to developers, it brings us to our component, but we're not seeing anything because we haven't added the profile items yet. But let's take a look at the state, and let's look in profile, and now in profiles you can see we have two array objects, and we have John Doe and we have the Brad profile. Okay, so that's what we want. So now let's go back to profiles.js, and the reason we're not seeing profiles here is because I actually forgot to assign it to profile items. So if we go like that, now we should see profiles here. All right, so in the next video we're going to create our profile item component, because that's what is going to be displayed here. Okay, each one will be a profile item.